Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's special global financial broadcast. This is a breaking market intelligence update that is drawing attention from investors, analysts, and currency watchers across the world. Tonight, we focus on two of the most heavily discussed emerging market currencies in global online financial communities, the Vietnamese dong and the Iraqi dinar, and the rising wave of speculation surrounding their long-term economic outlooks. Before we begin, it is important to set the tone with clarity and responsibility. In global finance, there is always a difference between economic reality and online speculation. There is also a difference between long-term development and immediate currency revaluation. Tonight, we will break down both Vietnam and Iraq from a factual economic perspective, based on growth trends, structural reforms, and global financial conditions, while also addressing the speculation circulating in investor communities. Around the world in 2026, the global economy is moving through a period of uneven recovery and transformation. Some economies are accelerating due to industrial expansion, technology growth, and foreign investment inflows, while others continue to struggle with inflationary pressures, debt management challenges, and geopolitical uncertainty. Central banks across major economies have maintained relatively tight monetary conditions compared to the previous decade, which means liquidity is more restricted and capital flows are more selective. In this environment, emerging markets are being closely analyzed for both risk and opportunity. This brings us directly to Vietnam, one of Asia's most consistently growing economies. Over the past decade, Vietnam has transitioned from a lower middle-income economy into a major manufacturing and export hub integrated into global supply chains. In 2026, Vietnam continues to demonstrate strong macroeconomic stability, driven by industrial production, export expansion, and sustained foreign direct investment inflows. Manufacturing remains the backbone of Vietnam's economic expansion. Global companies continue to diversify production away from traditional manufacturing centers and relocate facilities to Vietnam due to competitive labor costs, improving infrastructure, and stable government policies. This shift has led to consistent industrial zone development, rising employment opportunities, and increased export capacity across multiple sectors, including electronics, textiles, machinery, and agricultural processing. Foreign direct investment continues to play a critical role in Vietnam's economic story. International corporations are investing heavily in technology parks, semiconductor supply chains, renewable energy projects, logistics infrastructure, and smart manufacturing systems. These investments not only increase production capacity, but also strengthen Vietnam's integration into the global economy, making it a more significant participant in international trade networks. Infrastructure development across Vietnam has also accelerated significantly. Major investments in highways, airports, seaports, and urban expansion projects are transforming the country's logistics and transportation capabilities. These developments are designed to support long-term economic growth by improving connectivity between industrial regions and export hubs. Export's performance remains one of Vietnam's strongest economic pillars. The country continues to benefit from global supply chain diversification, with strong demand for electronics, garments, footwear, agricultural goods, and manufactured components. This export strength helps maintain foreign currency inflows and supports overall economic stability. However, despite these strong economic indicators, it is important to emphasize clearly that there has been no official announcement from Vietnam's monetary authorities regarding any currency revaluation. The Vietnamese dong operates under a managed exchange rate mechanism, where the central banking system prioritizes stability, inflation control, and export competitiveness over sudden currency adjustments. In global financial systems, currency revaluation is not simply the result of economic growth or investor optimism. It is a deliberate policy decision made by central banks based on macroeconomic stability, trade balance conditions, inflation trends, and long-term economic strategy. Even in cases of strong economic expansion, countries often maintain stable currency levels to protect export-driven growth models. Despite this, investor interest in Vietnam remains high. Many market participants view Vietnam as a long-term growth economy due to its industrial expansion, young workforce, increasing foreign investment, and strategic position within Asian supply chains. However, it is critical to distinguish between long-term economic potential and immediate currency valuation expectations. Now, shifting focus to Iraq, the economic picture becomes significantly more complex. Iraq remains a resource-rich nation with some of the largest proven oil reserves in the world, and its economy continues to be heavily dependent on oil exports as the primary source of government revenue. This dependence means that global oil price fluctuations directly influence Iraq's fiscal stability, budget planning, and overall economic performance. In recent years, Iraq has made ongoing efforts to strengthen its economic framework through structural reforms. These reforms include banking system modernization, anti-corruption initiatives, infrastructure rehabilitation, and efforts to attract foreign direct investment. The government has also emphasized the importance of diversifying the economy beyond oil dependency by developing sectors such as agriculture, construction, telecommunications, and private industry. International partnerships continue to play a role in Iraq's economic development strategy. The country is actively seeking foreign investment and technical cooperation to rebuild infrastructure, strengthen financial systems, and improve public services. These initiatives are part of a long-term plan to stabilize the economy and improve living standards. However, Iraq continues to face serious structural challenges. Political instability, regional tensions, security concerns, and institutional inefficiencies all create obstacles to rapid economic transformation. In addition, reliance on oil revenues makes the economy vulnerable to external shocks in global energy markets. When it comes to the Iraqi dinar, it is essential to clarify that there is currently no official confirmation from the Central Bank of Iraq or government authorities regarding any imminent currency revaluation. The Iraqi dinar remains managed under a controlled exchange system influenced by oil revenue flows, foreign currency reserves, inflation management, and fiscal policy decisions. Currency strength in Iraq, as in any economy, depends on long-term structural stability rather than short-term speculation. Sustainable appreciation of a currency requires consistent economic diversification, stable governance, strong financial institutions, and predictable monetary policy. At the same time, Iraq remains a country of significant long-term economic interest due to its vast natural resources and reconstruction potential. Many analysts focus on Iraq not because of short-term currency movements, but because of its long-term development trajectory, if reforms are successfully implemented. At this point in our broadcast, it is important to address a key concept in global finance: how currencies actually gain or lose value. Contrary to popular belief in online communities, currencies do not experience revaluation based on rumors, social media discussions, or speculative forecasts. Instead, currency movements are driven by central bank decisions, inflation rates, trade balances, interest rate policies, foreign investment flows, and overall economic performance. Even in rapidly growing economies, governments often choose to maintain stable exchange rates to ensure export competitiveness and economic predictability. Sudden currency revaluation events are extremely rare in modern global financial systems and typically occur only under highly specific economic restructuring conditions. A significant factor influencing public perception around both Vietnam and Iraq is online speculation. In today's digital environment, financial narratives spread rapidly through social media platforms, often mixing partial truths outdated information, and unverified claims. While this creates strong public interest and emotional engagement, it does not necessarily reflect official economic policy or real financial outcomes. For accurate financial understanding, investors are always encouraged to rely on verified data sources, such as central bank announcements, international financial institutions, government reports, and recognized economic indicators. These sources provide the factual basis for understanding currency trends and economic direction. Looking forward, Vietnam is expected to continue its path of industrial expansion, export growth, and deeper integration into global trade systems. Its economic model remains focused on stability, gradual development, and long-term competitiveness. Rather than pursuing aggressive currency adjustments, Vietnam's policy direction emphasizes controlled growth and macroeconomic balance. Iraq, on the other hand, is likely to continue its gradual transition toward economic diversification, reconstruction, and institutional reform. While progress is being made, the timeline for full economic transformation remains long and dependent on political stability, security improvements, and successful implementation of reforms. Both Vietnam and Iraq represent important emerging market stories, but they are fundamentally different in structure, stability, and development stage. Vietnam's growth is driven by manufacturing and foreign investment integration, while Iraq's potentials is tied to resource wealth and post-conflict reconstruction. In conclusion, while global interest in the Vietnamese dong and Iraqi dinar continues to rise, there is currently no verified evidence or official announcement supporting any imminent currency revaluation in either country. What exists instead is a story of long-term economic development, structural reform, and gradual growth potential that may influence currency strength over time, not overnight. The key message for viewers and investors is simple and critical. Focus on verified economic data, official central bank policies, and long-term macroeconomic trends. Avoid relying on speculation, rumors, or viral predictions that are not supported by financial institutions or government statements. This concludes tonight's Global Financial Special Report. We will continue to monitor developments across Vietnam, Iraq, and the broader global economy, and bring you verified updates as they emerge. Stay informed, stay disciplined, and stay aware of the difference between speculation and economic reality in global markets. Good night.